Right. Okay. So once again, welcome everybody. Good morning. Glad to have you all on board this morning. Lee sent out a presentation yesterday. I'm not sure if all of you got it. So if you didn't and you're not on our mailing list, please make sure you get onto our mailing list. And I'll put in the chat box how you can get onto the mailing list if you're not already on it. I know some folk have come in via the direct link. So if you want to get on the mailing list and get Lee's email daily basis after the chat with some prompters for the next morning session, please sign up on that link. As I say, I'll put it in the chat box shortly. Just another note for the new folk. I see there are a couple of new folk again this morning, which is fantastic. Welcome on board, Morag. And please use the chat box to provide us with some information about who you are and where you are is always interesting as well. And also any comments that you may have while other folk are talking, please pop those into the chat box. I'll try to get to everybody and give them a chance to talk as the morning moves on. And yeah, so I think that's it from my side. So I'm going to hand over to Lee to formally kick the session off. So, oh yeah, one last thing. If you're not busy talking, please mute your mics. I see most people have at the moment, which is great. Thank you. Other than that, yeah, please, Lee, take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. Great to see you all, and look forward to spending the next half an hour with you. Thanks to Jasper and his sharing yesterday. It prompted the theme for today, and we may take it forward in the next couple of days, depending on how the conversation goes. And that is looking at how does failure fit into our success, or how do we deal with the struggle of not succeeding when we've put our heart and soul into something and it doesn't work out as we intend. And it fits in with one of the wisdom's themes that we use in the attitude program, which is about linking failure or losing with playing games. So I'm going to share my screen, and you'll see that it starts with, let's think about games. And you'll see, I love this photo, this picture showing that games is something that we have played, that we have done from early days. And it's just something our mind works well in games. Even last night I spent the evening playing Scrabble with my mom. And it's amazing how just that sort of focus and thinking in a relaxed way really is very invigorating. And so I'll just play to show you the next slide as well. People will always find time to enter a game of some sort. So before we start talking about failure and losing and all of that, I just wanted to kind of throw the ball back into your court, literally, so as part of the game metaphor, and just get your thinking and feeling around, games. How do you relate to them, and how do they relate to life? We talk a lot on this platform about metaphors, and here we're using the metaphor of playing games, of gaming. And sports, we've also used that as a metaphor. So what have you learned from games, and how does games apply to you in terms of life?
Great, thanks, Lee. Well, I think we should start with the guy who plays the most games, and that's Trevor. So, Trevor, do you want to kick it off with your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I don't play games with anyone at all. I was just thinking about that. For me, I think I like to play live games. So I'm not one that really has the time to get involved in board games and all that sort of thing. So live games, sport, doing those sort of things appeals to me more than actual board games. So I must hand it over to other people who get more fun out of board games and maybe computer games and that sort of thing. I don't spend a lot of time with them.
All right, Trevor. Thanks for that. Yeah, look, I think games can apply in all different ways, and I think, as you've alluded, you know, the game of life is perhaps one of the most fascinating. But yeah, let's take it down this route. Cecile, your thoughts?
I love playing games, but like Trevor says, I actually don't get the time to do them as well. We normally play games when on holiday, or maybe sometimes when we're away, when on a weekend, around after a braai or something like that. But the funny thing about this is actually humorous in our family. When we play something like 30 seconds, and if my sister and I are there, even when my dad was still alive, they would always think we're cheating. We would say 2 words to each other, and the person would get the word, and they say, "You're cheating." You say, "How can we cheat?" So a lot of people sometimes think that you cheat when you play games, any kind of board games. But often it's not. It's just an understanding of maybe the other person that you are playing the games with. And like Trevor, I also don't play computer games. I don't have time for any of that. I don't even know where to find them on my computer. But I love playing games, and I'm as competitive. Trevor, I'm sure when you play, you are as competitive with those games, whether it's 30 seconds or tiddlywinks or whatever it is that you kind of want to win at all costs.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Ian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm also not a great games player. I mean, we don't play many games, but you know, when I was at school, we didn't have sort of television, or very limited television. So my family, my sister, myself, my folks used to play canasta every Sunday night. But you know, I must be honest, I don't play much in terms of games or that sort of stuff. It's not something that we do normally, you know.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Steve Carter, I see you've got your hand up. And folks, if you do want to chip in, you can put your hand up if you go to the participants a pop-out screen. There's some little icons at the bottom. You can stick your hand up as well. It also helps me focus on who wants to actually get involved next. So yeah, Steve Carter, please take it away.
Thanks, Ivan. Just a little comment in terms of the importance for games in children and childhood development has shown so clearly, both in the psychosocial realm as well as the academic benefit of children with either playing in free play situations where they're making up their own games with each other, or they're playing structured games with an adult figure who's mediating between them. So games are hugely important in terms of our development, specifically early on as children.
Great, thanks, Steve. I couldn't agree with that more. Morag, yes, good morning and welcome. Your first time with us, I believe, this morning. Love to know how you got connected to us, but also your thoughts on the discussion.
Hi, morning all. I got an invitation from Trevor, so that's how I've connected all with you guys. Since way back, early 2000s, when the country started with load shedding, the kids and I used to play during load shedding games. So slowly over the years, we've got a mass collection of board games and puzzles. And it's been sitting in the garage for quite some time. And now, since lockdown, we've brought out the box and we have game night at least twice a week. And it's a combination of board games and electronic Wii PlayStation games, because there's Trivial Pursuit, there's Idiot Test, there's all these sorts of fun brain games that we play, and I find it's a great bonding time, because you get to spend time laughing and joking and doing something different when it's a very stressful time outside.
Great, thanks, Morag, and some nice ideas there as well. Yes, Herman.
Well, having lived on my own for nearly 30 years, I've been not playing a lot of games lately, but I very fondly remember my childhood, where game playing was part of the whole kind of family culture, if you like. For many years, from the end of the war until my father came home, which was only in 51 or so, my mother made sure that we would, particularly in winter, sit around a warm fire and play games. And I fondly remember that. And when I lived in Thailand, there were a couple of German couples who, where we played games with our wives and the respective husbands, which weren't too serious. There was a lot of fooling around, which I didn't like. But we men played the same game on our own for a little bit of money to be put into what do you call it, into a saving thing where we would go out for dinner once every quarter. The point I want to make is that I like the entertaining aspect, and yet looking back on my childhood, I think kind of playing fair, even though you're competitive, has had a very large impact on myself, and I believe on my siblings too. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Herman. Yes, Cecile.
I just remembered my sister is she was for the last 4 years, she was the military attaché in Sweden, and part of their duties is they have to have a dinner at their house once a month, and have 3 other couples or 6 other people over for dinner every time. And part of what they do, and all the attachés did exactly the same thing. At the end of the dinner, they move from the dining room to the lounge or wherever, and they all play games, because that's the best way to get to know each other, not just kind of in a superficial way. But if you play Scruples, or if you play 30 seconds with someone, especially Scruples, then you quickly get to know what type of personalities people are. So that there used to be kind of the highlight of the dinner every month, to play Scruples with different couples. And within a few months, my sister got to know, I think there's something like 25 pairs of attachés, and sometimes even the ambassadors from all over the world. And you get to know the real personalities of people, because when people play games, they forget to pretend who they are, and they just become who they are naturally. So even in the high diplomatic circles, as attachés, as military attachés, the people are ahead of the militaries of their countries, and representing their countries. Game playing has a big part.
Great, thanks, Cecile. I don't think we want to get involved in talking about politics and games, but it's an interesting one anyway. So Stella, yes, I think you were wanting to say something.
And, I agree with Cecile. I think with game playing, you learn a lot about people's personalities. Like some people don't like to lose. Some people want to play the game exactly to the rule, etc. So for me, during this lockdown, the first thing that I'm going to do is get together with my friends to play some Rummy Cup or a card game, or Scrabble. I live in a complex, and we 5 ladies that get together every second week or so, and with a glass of wine, and we chat and we play games, and it's so much fun. Yeah, and it also brings back a lot of memories from when my children were younger. So holiday times were mostly the time that we would play games, especially on a rainy day and you can't go to the sea. We would play cards and just have fun. So playing games brings back lots of good memories to me. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Stella. Yes, Jasper.
I use games for the education part of it, and I think the one that impacted most in my life and most of the things I've been doing since is the Cashflow 101 of Robert Kiyosaki. And I first read his books, and then he referred to his game, and I imported the game when it wasn't yet freely available in South Africa. And I found it very useful since I didn't have the credibility as a businessman to other people yet. But by playing the game and just getting a bunch of people around the table, and like Stella said, you also see people's personalities comes out in terms of are they risk averse or understanding the rules and stuff like that. But I find it a good contact point that afterwards, when we played the game and people enjoyed it, and they now understand the principle of trying to get out of the rat race and get into your significance or in your dream lane, it was then an easy conversation to say, now, we've played it in theory, why don't we play it in practice? And that's how I got my first eventual 12 people together. That was the foundation of Geek. So I find the right kind of games very, very helpful, and also play with my two boys. And unfortunately, only my youngest son, Yaku, took a liking to that game, and he ended up in business or in the corporate world today. And my other son, he's more like these uncle and auntie here, playing, he's very, very good at playing these, what do you call it, electronic games. But I personally don't like any of these electronic games, but I like it where it makes you think and where you have interaction and chat.
All right, thanks, Jasper. Yes, Grant.
Okay, I'll come clean here. My name is Grant Evans, and I haven't touched a game in about 8 hours. I play games quite a bit. I use it for my business as well. So a lot of what I do is centered around it. I've registered, not that I'll finish it, but I've registered a PhD in business gamification as well. I'm building games for Stellenbosch University for teaching on a course called Young Minds for I suppose young adults that are doing their gap year through the university. It's brilliant as a learning tool on business and supply chain. And I think if you think you don't play games, I think you do play games all the time. You just don't know that you're playing the game. It's business gamification, which if you're not sure what that is, think of it like Discovery Vitality is just a game. It forces you to do more exercise so that you can be healthier and less risk of Discovery paying out. They're using it everywhere mostly to get to up sales, which feels like a little bit of a manipulative way of doing it, which it probably is, but it's also good inside businesses to increase productivity. And yeah, I think it is something that's going to be bigger in the future.
Great, thanks, Grant. I think we'll have to call you Dr. Games from now on, but I'd love to dig into some of that a bit more on a future discussion. Thanks for that. Devin, love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I think we've covered most of the aspects of it. I think, as Grant also suggested, I think we play games all the time. So if you want to get to know somebody quickly, if you're meeting somebody for the first time, I mean, the true personality traits are going to come flying through. Battle of the Sexes. I think games have been around forever, and I think they're going to be around for a long, long time to come. Gamification is massive in the learning environment, as also been spoken about, and even in research. You know, when you want to find out what people are really thinking in games in one form or another, I think you just can't hide. Everything just comes through. You get to know someone, family members, you know, different strengths and weaknesses, and as Jasper also said, I think we playing games all the time, whether we realize it or not. And even Trevor was saying, you know, he doesn't play board games, and I'm not a big board game either user, but I think in life it's constantly about games in one form or another.
Great, thanks, Devin. Cecile and Herman, I see you guys. I just want to get to one or two other people quickly, and I'll come back to both of you. I'd like to get across to Karina, because I think Karina, Grant, and Devin probably probably should be having some interesting discussions outside of this. So Karina, your thoughts?
Yes, well, the first thing that comes to mind, I have a syndrome daughter. She's 18, and we play simple board games like Uno, which is a card game, and dominoes. But also, again, it's the time to have fun, to laugh, and it leads to engagement and that one-on-one time. And then, yes, agreeing with Jasper and Grant, we design a lot of experiential learning, because learning through play is just accessing the right brain. And for example, if just to show resilience, just people throwing balls at each other and how the ball bounces and how we often don't have control about the other person's skill. So it leads to storytelling, it leads to sharing. So games are really a way to also understand group dynamics and what happens under the water. And then, interesting enough, as I say, gamification is getting so big. I'm involved in a psychometric test at the moment where for recruitment, where the applicant plays a game. And again, it is an animated game and it's lots of fun, but it spits out a psychometric report at the end of that. So yes, games help us to surface behavior, to engage through the right brain, and obviously can bring out the competitive spirit.
Great, thanks, Karina. I'd love to get across to Pierre. Pierre, your thoughts, and if Zane's with you, I'd love to hear his input on this one as well.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, the games. I'm not a gaming fanatic, but the games I love is like Monopoly, things that you can do, and then also I played a game Cashflow, and I'm telling you, you know, if I do that and it works out the way it should work out in the real life, I would have been on a better place now. But yeah, I that is the type of games I like. You know, computer games and all of that, I'm not fond of that. So.
Morning, everyone. As for me, I've also grown very fond of the game Monopoly, the whole real estate aspect to it. Although I have taken a very big liking, and I think I found my new favorite game, Cashflow. The reason being is because it gives a more realistic perspective compared to Monopoly, because you're working with more realistic numbers and figures. I always I've also got a bunch of electronic games, business-wise, downloaded on my phone, but I've downloaded more more recent games that actually pay me for my time that I play them, because not only do I learn a business skill through playing the game, but I also get paid for playing the game. So, like everyone has said, through gaming, learning certain skills is an entirely new dynamic in learning business skills for me personally. So yeah, I'm quite fond of a lot of business games.
Great, thanks Zane, and yeah, I think I'm not sure if this is your first time on the Wisdom's Chats with us, Zane, or maybe perhaps the second. But for the folks that don't know Zane, he's a young dynamic man who started his first business at a very early age, and we'd love to dig into his story a little bit in some of our future discussions. So thanks for that, Zane. Appreciate it. Right, Cello, your thoughts?
Morning, everybody. Once again, you've chosen a topic that really resonates with me, and I have so much to say on the thing. I've jotted down some notes for myself so that I don't just keep rambling. So first of all, you've heard me say that we have 5 companies that we are using as practical classrooms. One of those companies is a gaming cafe even. And there's proper logic that goes into that. Games are very important for us to teach young people, especially about money. I've heard Jasper speak about the Cashflow 101, and I've heard somebody else mention the Cashflow 101. It's one of our programs that we offer in townships. We get to sit down with young people and help them to think through about money by using a board game. And I mean, to that end, my wife and I even created our own game. It's more for couples, for the counseling that we do with couples. We just felt like there's a gap maybe in the Black household. There's something wrong with the expression of intercourse. So we created a sex game for couples. But I'm just saying there's a business side to it as well. And most of you guys are in business. Look at the gaming industry. Trust me, there's a lot there. I mean, some of the things that we wanted to do in townships through 3nil Gaming is to get young kids connected with other people worldwide, because now you can play with other people from the comfort of your own space. You can still connect with other people. I know that human-to-human interaction, you know, nothing beats it, but for business sake, this also works as a model, and it's a beautiful business model, and it's a beautiful business to be in. Look at gaming from that perspective. And now, philosophically, why gaming? When we interviewed a lot of people in the area, we realized that in the Black business side of things, people are afraid to fail. People fear making mistakes. When we started our companies, we dubbed them, some of the nicknames that they gave them was built to fail, because we gave people an opportunity to fail. And gaming gives you that. It gives you, how can I try harder next time? What is failure to me? How do I feel after I've failed? It allows you to play around with those concepts and without really breaking the glass, so to speak. So no, I have a lot to say on the matter, but thank you for this topic. I'm really enjoying the conversation.
Right, thanks, Silo. And I see we have the Omachi family on this morning, I think for the first time. So if you guys would like to just open up and let us know who you are and what your thoughts are on the topic.
Hi, everybody. The Moatis family, I'm Solomon. I think I've met you, Jasper, recently. So yeah, my wife will be joining me soon, and she's got a off day today, so she's not with me. So yeah, it's quite a bit of an interesting topic of gaming. My family, especially my wife, has introduced board games quite a lot. I know as a person, I haven't been really so interested in them, but every now and then I join everybody else playing the games. And some of the fruits of us being together, playing games, and we get to see and get to know everybody else, because everybody else, some characteristics, and you just pops up and you get to see you know, whether this one is competitive or, you know, whatever result that's coming. But I know I've always not wanted to play games because people mocking me around or afraid of losing and all that. But every now and then I do join in playing the games. And I think this morning I'm very encouraged. Somebody needs to connect me to that cash flow game thing, because I've actually been thinking I need to find it. And I'm so privileged to get to meet all of you and learn from what you're doing.
Great, thanks, Solomon, and welcome on board. And we're pleased to have you here. So welcome. Right, Guy Daines.
Ivan, thank you. I just follow up on what you mentioned about the game of life. And sometimes we are forced into different directions in terms of playing this game of life. Sometimes we aren't. So it's actually quite a fascinating topic, and the journey of the game of life and how things unravel or come together. It's actually quite fascinating. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Guy. Umpo, thoughts from your side?
Morning, everyone. Actually, as I'm listening to everyone, I'm just thinking of my childhood. I've got very fond memories of games and gaming in my childhood in the township. And I was thinking about the president's speech last night. So, you know, I grew up in the township where we were using absolutely anything and everything to create games. You know, plastic water bottles, stones, bricks, stockings, tins, you know. So, and I'm thinking now about actually at the time, you know, we didn't realize that we were being resourceful, we were being innovative, and how active we were. You know, all these games centered around physical activity. So we were exercising, taking care of our physical needs. And I was thinking, you know, how do we move from this culture of constantly having a society that needs to be given things all the time, to go back to that spirit that we had of gaming, of being resourceful and using what we have in our immediate environment to empower ourselves, if that makes sense at all. But at the moment, my daughter loves snakes and ladders. She's 5, but goodness gracious me, she cheats.
Fantastic, Paul. Thanks for that. And I couldn't agree with you more. You know, the resourcefulness that one develops playing games with things that you find lying around is I think, a critical component, as Steve Carter was saying earlier. So I'd like to go to Steve Petzer, and I think then we're almost at we're at the bottom of the hour, and it's 1 or 2. I'll go across to you for a final comment, and then we'll wrap up. So Steve Petzer, yeah.
Hey, Ian. Sorry, Ivan. I haven't heard anyone playing solitaire on computer. It's like one of the things that I think has been helping me when I need to think about stuff. Sitting on my own, challenging my brain, keeping it going, and just it's really helped me in thinking. And then growing up, obviously, a lot of my time was spent on farm. Like Paul said, there you create your own stuff to play with, and we grew up being very creative, and I think that has rubbed off quite a bit in my life thereafter. I'm a creative person by nature, and I think that all started during my days of actually playing.
Great, thanks, Steve. I know, Herman, you were wanting to get a word in earlier. So, Herman, if you'd like to have a final comment, and then I think Cecile also had her hand up briefly, and then we'll wrap up.
Thanks, Ian. Xelo actually touched on it. I wanted to talk about the importance of gaming, of games in training. And very often, trainers would use games in order to use them as an icebreaker, use them to get to know the participants a lot quicker, because even though you ask them to introduce themselves, but I think make them playing a game is a lot more revealing. And what I specifically like, it gives you also an impression how creative your trainees are in their thinking, in their approach to problems. And I think that is where playing games is quite important. And let's not forget that someone who most of you know is selling a game in order to make a living, called Choices.
Great, thanks, Herman. Cecile, yeah, you had your hand up a little bit earlier. Are you wanting to make a final comment?
Yes, the other thing that my daughter does, she's very good with introducing games with educational stuff. When her kids were doing the Easter egg hunt, part of the game for the Easter egg hunt was to get the clues to find the Easter eggs. They first had to do like mathematical sums and reading a bit. The kids are 6 and 8. So Chanel is just learning, just reading. So she had to read the passage aloud and then tell Cindy what it was all about. So she encouraged them to read and to do a whole lot of sums before they could find the next Easter egg. And the other thing that because Bastian, that's 8, loves playing games, but he's a really bad loser. So that's the one thing that it'll teach your children as well, to be a better loser, because everyone can't win the card or the games that we play. So we've also we gave him for his birthday a Monopoly card game, and he's really good at that. And yes, like, he can do strategic thinking with this Monopoly card game even at the age of 8. So character-wise, you can get people's characters, and you can you can assist children to learn how to lose graciously without, especially if you're playing teams, the games.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Right, as I say, we've just gone past the bottom of the hour, so I'm going to hand back to Lee for a wrap-up and perhaps a prompt for what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know, but Lee, if you also wouldn't mind just taking your share screen down so we can get a screenshot of it, of everybody who's on board this morning, and then we'll wrap up for the morning.
Oh, thanks everybody. I think it all stimulated memories, and there was a lot of amazing insights that came just from the ideas around what is playing games and the metaphor of games and how it relates to our lives. I'm going to continue with this. Stella picked up on it. Cecile's just picked up on it on the end, because this was really by way of introduction to say, how can games teach us about failure, about losing, and that was stimulated by Jasper's story yesterday. So we'll go in that direction tomorrow, just picking up from this and drawing it further into how does failure relate to our lives, and how do we deal with it going forward. So that will be our topic tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you all there.
Great, fantastic. Thanks everyone. Have a great day and see you tomorrow at 8. Cheers then.